Well, here we are again, on the same exact spot we have been for like, I don't know, 6 times already. I already know that there's been like a million people that have made videos about the state of Destiny 2, which is not great, but it has been not great for a long time. The thing is, it's not a massive thing, but a much more complicated issue. Like, many little things that made the game feel like it's just not the same as it was before. In the past, I've made a couple videos about Destiny on my other channel, but by the time Lightfall came, I was so done. I felt like, well, I don't even care anymore. And I think that's what most people feel nowadays. Apathy. Before, it was more like, well, it could be good still. It has been a couple rocky seasons, but you know, it could still be good. There's a lot of people that stopped playing when Beyond Light came, because I still don't understand how they just got it 70% of the game and it did not matter because, well, it could be good. So there was still a hope that things could be good, and that's where you first start seeing the turning point for some people, because not everyone has the same level of endurance. So a lot of people when Beyond Light came were just done with the game, and I completely empathize with it. Even Season of the Worthy was one of the points where I was just like done with the game. But I kept coming back because I love Destiny. I've always loved the game, and I like the lore, the story, the gameplay. The universe itself felt like nothing I've ever seen before. So I always had hope that things could be good. And then, you know, Witch Queen came, and it was not bad, but Witch Queen tricks you into thinking that things are going to be better, but that's not true. They're just going to stay the same way until they are forced to change. When they vaulted 70% of the game, they said, well, we're not gonna do the same thing again. But they kinda did, because there's no reason why they need to take off all the seasons that come with the yearly expansion. In fact, it hurts the game more because the story inside those seasons, it's linked with one another and the expansion. So when a new player comes, they are completely lost because, I mean, what the fuck? There's no connection between Beyond Light and Witch Queen and Lightfall. Like, nothing. And that's another thing. How can the new Light experience be so bad that you cannot even begin to explain to a new Guardian how to play the game? Just say, well, do some strikes, do some random shit, listen to Zavala, you know, listen to whatever is talking to you and move on. My point is that the game has been a pretty rough state for some time now. But I think that for the first time, there's this like universal apathy to it. You know, there's only one major expansion coming out until the end of the saga, and people don't know what's coming, so they're like, I mean, if Lightfall was as shit as it was, there's no hope for the future as it once was. And so, all comes down to the same thing, that Bungie had not said anything. And that's the whole point of the State of the Game post that they made a couple days ago, which we are gonna go over it, but it pretty much is saying that just wait until the stream, lol. And that fucking sucks. So let's talk about the state of the game. So basically it starts by saying that, well, they have listened to the feedback and they are updating the ritual playlist with a couple of rework guns and reprise weapons. So starting with the Crucible, the first paragraph of this, it's very disingenuous. Because this is a new other conversation, but I need to express this so that people understand that quality of life improvements is not content. And that's why this thing is wrong. Because like more than half of the things that they say they bring to the PvP are just quality of life changes. They're not new content. The new content is new maps, new weapons, new armor sets, new modes, and the new modes that they said they bring up, they are not really new, are they? So no, they haven't done shit for the PvP on this game. And that's what people have been saying for, what, 5 years now? And don't get me started on the whole cheater situation, because that's another can of worms. I'm not gonna talk about that because that's fucked up. Anyway, so they keep talking and they basically say that they rather focus on support and update the PvP ecosystem that, you know, making new maps. That would be fair if they did anything of the sort, but, you know, it is what it is. And that basically, if they focus on making PvP maps, they don't have enough resources to do other things. Which is, to put it in a more direct approach, bullshit. And then they showed a new map, which looks cool, actually. I like the whole Vex theme, that's good. Then the new 2 game modes, which they don't look that bad. Checkmate is a mode where primary weapons shine. Basically, it says that almost every engagement is gonna be with a primary weapon. And that's a fun idea, you know, making people change positions on the maps to further engage with primary weapons. Depends on the map or the length of it. The average time to kill now changes because there's not going to be special weapons going rampant across the map. All ability cooldowns are lengthened, and well, if you want special ammunition, it's gonna be earned via gameplay because it is not dropped now. This results in a game mode where combat is now a lot longer. Which, I mean, it sounds good, but I don't know. I think that submachine guns are going to be king like they have been for a couple years now. And then there's Relic, which is a game mode where you can choose to play with different types of relics, like the scythe or the spear, and that looks quite fun. So I'm looking forward to playing them in the future and see how shit they are in reality. And that's the whole thing about PvP, which it is pretty much the same thing they have been doing for years now. There's not really a massive update or a constant surge of content for PvP. Anyway, the Vanguard playlists are currently in a solid place with a healthy population, and that they are going to have new additions. Vanguard medals, which are the medals that they introduced last year during the Guardian Games event, and they have decided to bring them up full time to spice things up with the Vanguard playlist. That's okay, that doesn't change anything, but it also doesn't bring anything bad to the game, so, I mean, okay. Before we move into Gambit, the side note here says that they have additional battlegrounds coming into the Nightfall and Grandmaster Nightfall rotations for Season 22 and 23 to keep players on their toes before the final shape launches. And to that I say that that was the whole plan, right? I mean, why is there any need to say that? I was under the impression that the whole thing about the battlegrounds is that they were going to rotate them. I hope that was the plan in the first place and not a last minute change. I hope. Oh, Gambit, 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 Gambit. Well, this is straightforward. Fuck Gambit. They don't care about Gambit. They don't give a shit if you play Gambit. They will never do anything good for Gambit ever. In fact, remember this map that we took away from you 3 years ago? There, have it back. Now, say thank you. And because we are a benevolent soul, we are going to give you the new enemies you have been fighting for the last 2 expansions. Also, there's no challenges now for Gambit because, I mean, that's completely reasonable. Armor set rewards. That's a controversial one. So, basically, as I understand this, I hope I'm wrong, they didn't release new armor set for every ritual playlist because the sets have historically had very low adoption by players as both base armor and cosmetic ornaments, which means people don't use them. Well, you know what? We don't use them because they're ugly as shit. And that's the whole thing. They are not going to create new sets for every expansion. But that's a massive incredible, overwhelming lie. Because every season, there's a new Eververse store set. They're not going to be on the ritual playlist, because they don't give a shit about them. Curious, isn't it? On the last note, they talk about how they're going to bring down the hammer of Thor upon those cheaters. And I hope they do, fuck them. And that they're working with BattleEye to address the network manipulation tools. Good, good. Hope it doesn't take 5 months to do that, but okay. I have hope. Yeah. Then the stability updates, which were a low point for the last season, because, you know, there were a couple months where people were being booted off the game for no reason. They lost competitive matches, trial matches, grandmasters. The whole thing was a mess. And they're saying that they are working for the betterment of the game. And I am 100% on board with that. I hope if I want to play the game doesn't say, fuck you, go back to orbit. Now there's a little bit of quality of life improvements, customizing favorites, where you can put your favorite shaders on top of the list. The stasis aspects and fragments have moved to the vendor system, which is a good thing. Transmats will now be unlocks. That is a massive thing that I don't know how they took this long to do. I don't understand. Resources tab now to collections to tell you what they do and how to get them, which is a nice thing for new players. And a couple things more with new strand aspects, exotic armor reworks, new weapon families incoming, and a weapon tuning preview. And then they say that the final shape and its rate will provide a climactic conclusion to the Light and Darkness saga. I hope that is true, and that means that the expansion is gonna end the story and the seasons to come are going to be about tying the knots on ongoing plot lines. I hope. Now they talk about a new thing called Pathfinder, which is the new bounty system, which looks cool. I don't know how it's going to work, but it looks good at the first glance. And that's about it. So, the whole thing is underwhelming because the game is not in a good state right now, and this proves that they don't really have anything to tell us unless, well, we watch the stream on August and we pray that whatever it is that they shown looks and feels good for the game. And well, I'm not going to be too hopeful about it. They need to understand that Final Shape needs to be the best expansion they've made, at least for Destiny 2. I hope that they deliver that. I hope. Anyway, bye bye.